now listening to Philly Sports Pulse with Jesse Sharon and Adam Den, powered by 302 Birds. Let's take it to the show.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in to Philly Sports Pulse. It's going to be a busy show this week. You have the Jaylen Brown press conference today, I guess it's already, I guess, would have happened when you guys see this, because this is going to be a pre-recorded episode. We're recording it this morning. So the Jaylen Brown press conference already happened. We're going to preview that. We are going to talk about the deadline for the Phillies, the awful game last night that you can kind of tie into the deadline a little bit, a lot of it. We're going to be talking about the injury concerns possibly with Kyle Lemon and Devontae Smith at training camp. And on the brighter side, injury-wise, Joel Embiid has been in the news recently. There have been pictures that have been put out by the Sixers, and he looks really great, to be completely honest with you. So we're going to be talking about the impact of a healthy Joel Embiid on the 2026 Philadelphia 76ers. Joining me, as always, Adam Den. Welcome on in, buddy.
Thank you, Jess. Happy to be here. Like you said, a lot swirling around, even though we don't have a lot going on besides the Phil. So excited to dive in.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that real quick. Rip the Band-Aid off. Unfortunately, last night, man, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, and I wonder, is this a sign of things to come? Because listen, Luis Ariz, I love what he brings to the table offensively, but the Phillies bullpen has been an issue for a while, and even though I thought that Brooks Raley last night kind of got screwed just a little bit, him and Killian last night, especially after Killian had a decent first outing, literally the day before, although it was sort of a little bit of a bad sample size, because, he came in and this was after Luzardo had pitched 8 scoreless innings, so he wasn't exactly in a whole ton of trouble. Anyway, I don't know with this team, man. Like, I don't, because, like, you can get all the hitting you want. If you don't have the bullpen, and especially the starting pitching depth, after what we saw injury-wise from Painter last night, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, no, I agree, Jess. I think, you were expecting a lot out of Brooks Raley, and I think he was the best left-handed relief pitcher that they really could have gotten that was available at the deadline. So I honestly was really happy with that trade. They didn't really give up a lot in that. But I think, when you're putting so much on a guy like Killian in those extra innings, and, that's a guy who they basically was a throw-in in that trade, right? It seems. I think it's a lot to ask, and it kind of shows that, the depth of this bullpen isn't necessarily what you'd call for, but once again, right, it's the margin of error as well. And we talked about this the last time we were on here. If the stars don't align in the way that you want them to, and, Kyle Schwarber didn't have a great night, Trey Turner didn't have a great night hitting the ball, it's just how it is, it'll happen every other night, then it's going to be tough for this team, because in the fringes where it matters most, they are not a good baseball team. And even with acquiring Luis Ariz, there are still significant holes in this roster. The starting pitching is certainly one of them. The left-handed part of this bullpen, if Brooks Raley doesn't play better, certainly is one of them. Those are significant holes that the rest of this roster doesn't have enough to make up for. The back end of the offense as well, too, right? Alec Bohm, JT Realmuto. So I think I was, surprised, but not surprised at all that the Phillies were willing to give up the capital that they did to acquire a guy like Ariz that signals that they're going all in, but not fully commit to it by not chasing down another starting pitcher or looking to move Alec Bohm for somebody who's, simply better at either third base or first base. Like, these are the kind of things that look to push you over the edge in the margins, and they refused to commit all the way. And just like other seasons where they've refused to commit all the way, I think my expectation has kind of become the same because of it.
Yeah. And now let's go over the deadline a little bit more. You know, because with the acquisition of Luis Arias, this defense gets a total incomplete makeover, if you will.
You could call
that. I guess you could call it whatever. But Bryson Stott, he's at third base now. Trey Turner, the defensive wizard. I can't even say that with a straight face. Is at shortstop. You've got Luis Arias at second base. Alec Bohm moves over to first base, and Bryce Harper is back in right field with his bows or whatever the heck he does now, or used to do. He's back in right field, and to me, people are freaking out over this a little bit too much. But I wanted to get your take.
I mean, they were already the worst defense in baseball as far as runs saved. Like, it doesn't really mean all that much to me if they continue to be the worst defense in baseball as far as runs saved. You know what I mean? I think moving Trey probably would have been my preference, moving him to the outfield over moving Bryce to the outfield, just because he's simply been worse at the position that he's at. And Bryce is also a pretty horrid outfielder. I think people forget that from his time out there, but it's once again, it's a refusal to commit all the way, right? You're throwing Bryce out there because he's the soldier, and he'll do whatever it takes to make the team win, and you don't have to keep him happy. Whereas Trey, it seems like there was a little bit of a conflict there, and the avoidance of conflict over the pursuit of a championship, I think is the bigger deal, and that continues with Alec Bohm continuing to play first, right, where he is also very, very not good. So it's once again, I don't think they can be any worse as a defense, but the continued refusal to fully commit to a championship while paying the price that it takes to commit to a championship is just mind-boggling.
Yeah. Let's get into a more positive note. The Jaylen Brown press conference that is happening today. It is at 2:00. We're not doing this show at our normal 7:00, so we're not here to react to a press conference that hasn't even happened yet. But I'm wondering, as a guy that interviews these athletes for a living, wondering if you're looking for any specific answers from Brown, any specific questions you're hoping to be asked of him, as he dons the new Sixers uniform.
Yeah, the thing with these opening press conferences from, I haven't been to one, but from watching them constantly in my youth, I think it's just, it's more of just a promotional event and less of what are you going to learn, right? So I don't think Jaylen Brown is going to give you an answer that's going to particularly set the world on fire, although he is Jaylen Brown, so he does tend to be a little bit of a character at these things. But I think what you're going to learn is simply going to come throughout the season, and when he's on the floor, I expect him to say all the right things. I want to be a part of how this team fits together. I don't care about whether or not I score 25 points per game. I want to be a part of the system. But the reality is, and we've learned this through sources, we've learned this through, his actual interactions, is that we know Jaylen Brown wants a certified role as a significant option in an NBA offense, and how he's going to fit is going to come down to Nick Nurse and LeBron James and how this team runs. So I'm very curious to see how it looks on the court, but I think it's going to be sunshine and rainbows for now.
Yeah. All right. That's good enough for me. Sunshine and rainbows. And now, in terms of something that's not exactly sunshine and rainbows, recently, Mekhi Lemon and Devontae Smith, the injury bug has unfortunately hit them in training camp. Now, I think, to me, they have the wide receiver depth. They've got Cooper. They've got Wicks, who has apparently looked fantastic.
He has.
In training
Yeah, that's
camp,
what I've heard
from
too.
what I've seen.
Yeah.
So they have the receiver depth if they're going to have issues going into the year, which I don't think they are. But what's your assessment of Lemon and Devontae Smith with all these injury issues?
Well, you know me, Jess. I have a tendency to kind of, poo-poo and, oh, this is nothing. But, I mean, hamstrings and wide receivers is a tough battle, right? Like, we've seen even Devontae, I think, over the past couple of years when he's dealt with hamstring issues, he's missed time, he's missed games, it's been a little bit of a worry. And I think specifically for Mekhi Lemon, for this to have been as long of an issue as it's been, I mean, he hasn't even participated in individual drills yet over the course of this entire training camp. I think it is a little bit of an issue if you are expecting him to be, off the top, like a seriously dependable wide receiver too. Now, I don't think that's the Eagles' plan for him. I think the Eagles' plan for him is to be a slot guy who they're going to manufacture touchers for and start to work him into the offense, but not necessarily right away like that certified two. I think Dontavian Wicks is going to have a large role in that. Hollywood Brown, like it's going to be much more by committee and less of kind of the featuring receivers in an offense that we've seen in the past outside of Devontae Smith. So I think what this likely means is that his workload is going to, be worked up as the season goes on if he continues to miss time, right? Because he's going to have to catch up to speed sooner, get those reps. But I'm hoping that he's just fully healthy and able to go because hamstring injuries and wide receivers, these are things that tend to stick around and be not good. So, and Cooper DeJean dealt with something similar a couple years ago and he ended up fine. So maybe this is all, and corner is very similar with hamstring injuries, but we'll find out.
Yeah. I really don't know. I'll put it this way. Like, I don't see a world where Mekhi Lemon doesn't take over that wide receiver 2 role. Because listen, man, they picked him. They traded up in the draft to grab him in the first round. I just they paid actually a significant investment in him. I don't. With every they traded away AJ Brown for him, man. I don't know. I don't see it.
I would slow the trading AJ Brown stuff for him, right? Because that was a trade that was largely made, right, for their ability to have financial flexibility in the future to sign their defensive guys. They're 20-something in spending on defense, despite having one of the best defenses in football. They're going to have to spend that money at some point. So that's what I would point to the AJ Brown trade for. And I get what you're saying with the level of investment, but where I see that is they traded all that to have that investment long term, right? Mekhi Lemon is not going anywhere in this building. They have plenty of time to get him up to speed, and that's why they brought so many wide receivers into this building, and that's also a staple of the Sean Mannion offense, right? You go back and you look at Green Bay, or even in the earlier Sean McVay Rams days, in some of the Kyle Shanahan days before he got Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, it's a lot by committee because you're not manufacturing targets. You're more working over the middle of the field, trying to set up the outside run game. You're not in those third and long situations as much if you're really proficient as this offense, where you have to go find a guy on third down, where you need like a Devontae Smith, if you will. So I think where Mekhi Lemon fits with that is certainly just as another cog. And I think they're going to try to get him touches in the screen game, try to get him touches on slants and corners, but I don't think they're going to force the issue with him in a way that you would say an AJ Brown or a Devontae Smith, if you will, because there's no need. He's here for the long term, and that's not really a part of how this offense runs.
Yeah, and I will add, I think especially Mekhi Lemon, I really don't think, maybe this is me being a little biased here from actually talking to him, but I don't think Mekhi Lemon is, I know this is shocking breaking news, I don't think Mekhi Lemon is going to be that next AJ Brown,
No.
that wanting the ball, at all costs type of guy. To me, when I was talking to him, this is a while ago at this point, but he held a football camp for young kids down near the city of Philadelphia for ODAP. It is, it was a great experience, but when I was talking to him, he basically, he was willing to learn from anybody and everybody, right? Which is exactly what a rookie should. They shouldn't really be guys that have these. And now this isn't exactly what happens with everybody, but in my opinion, they shouldn't really have these huge egos. And Mekhi Lemon, he must have been raised right, man, because I don't think that he is going to have that. And we've seen the same thing out of Devontae Smith, right? He took a little bit of a back seat in all the AJ Brown drama because Kevin Petula was trying to force feed AJ the ball, right? And Devontae Smith, he just, like everybody else on that Eagles offense besides AJ, they kind of knew their role and played played their hand where they were able to. And they were obviously set up in good positions, but did not happen until under the Kevin Petula offense. But I think these guys are going to be pretty selfless with the Eagles offense. And, Sean Manning especially, I think he's got some great ideas. We've seen what he's been bringing to the table in training camp and in these press conferences. Eagles players all love him, so I think we should be fine, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think the reality for this Philadelphia team is just that they don't really have, the AJ Brown, right? But this committee is what they were striving for and to provide more versatility on offense. So, I'm hoping to also see them in more 12 and 13. I think that's crucial to how they run the ball, and that's crucial to how NFL teams are operating in those kind of packages. So I think, if they're able to throw the ball out of that as well, maybe get some Eli Stowers involved. I know we talked about him as a little bit of a disappointment these couple weeks, but maybe he can be worked in the rotation. Like, there's multiple options, multiple ways for this team to grow outside of Mekhi Lemon. I think that's the overall takeaway.
Yeah. Now, speaking on about a team that, can potentially grow. We've got some Sixers updates. One, Joel Embiid seems fully healthy, apparently, from all things that have been said by Mike Gansey, Nick Nurse over the last little bit, and we've seen pictures of him. To me, he looks very skinny, which is potentially a good thing. Not exactly sure, but if Embiid is healthy, finally, it gives you a full year, which, again, knock on wood, hasn't really happened in a while. What does that mean for the Sixers? You're muted.
Sorry, it's everything, Jess. It's just the reality is that it's almost impossible to predict, and what we've seen over year after year after year is that not being the case. So I think the pictures look great. I'm with you. Like, I've never seen him in that kind of shape, and that certainly makes me happier than if I had seen pictures of him, looking like an overweight slob. But at the same time, like, we got to see it on the court, and that's been the biggest thing, and we'll see if we're going to be able to see it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Mike Yancey, were you able to see, as your brother seemingly makes a cameo backstage?
Yeah. Yep.
Zachary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, did you see the Mike Yancey Phillies hit that he did?
I did not see the pitch. I did see, however, the him visiting Eagles camp.
Yes.
So I was excited by that. I think at the end of the day, just to have all these Philadelphia figures involved is a really cool thing. So, it's going to be exciting it's an exciting time in Philly sports, Jess.
Yeah. I think that's going to wrap things up. For Philly Sports Bowl. So a little bit of a quicker episode, but we both have places to be, people to see. You're going to be at the game tonight, which is really cool. But yeah, I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank Adam for hopping on. I want to thank Zach for making the surprise appearance in the background. That was hilarious. Yeah, but want to thank you all for watching. I'm Jess. That's Adam. If you haven't already, please follow Philly Sports Pulse on Instagram. If any breaking news or anything pops up,
we'll be there.
We'll be there. But thank you all for watching again, and subscribe to 302 Birds. Put your notifications on in case we go live. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I'm Jess Adam. Thanks for watching again, and let's go, Phils and Birds and Sixers.